Hello,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm very good, thanks. How are you?
Good. So, welcome to Films Ablaze. Let's begin. So, my first question for you would be easy. How did you get into the animation industry?
Um, Good question. I don't really know. So I studied animation at university, and then my first job in industry was as a runner, as they call it, which basically involves running and going getting people coffee, and then slowly scrambled my way up after that. And then I went to film school after a few years in the industry. That enabled me to start making films and know about the correct funding and all that. Yeah, that's how I got in.
When you first started, were you interested in puppetry as well?
When I first started, I was more interested in CGI animation actually. So I did a CG animated film at film school. And then whilst I was at film school, I made an advert and only had a very small amount of time, a very small budget to do it. So I decided to, rather than animate it, use live action puppets because then we could just do the shoot in one day, a couple of days to edit, rather than taking like 3 weeks to animate it. And that I really enjoyed it. So that's what kind of sparked my interest in kind of puppets, basically.
Now, for Frank's joke, the first question is obvious. How did this idea come about for this film?
I was listening to a podcast with, it was an interview with a neuroscientist, and the guy was talking about how every time you revisit a memory, the memory becomes degraded. So the more you return to a memory, the more distorted it is to your own perception. So that made me think about all the times I'd lay awake at night, just overthinking something and returning to a memory over and over again. So that was kind of like the spark for the film.
So, was Frank basically based on your own experiences?
To begin with, and then we developed his character and made it. I worked with a together with a screenwriter, and yeah, I've done that many times, but a lot of people have as well. I think
Yes.
that seems to be what people have been saying to me after watching the film. So it was based on my experiences, but then the character of Frank became his own thing. It's not autobiographical.
And now for the styles, you use hand-drawn animation, you use 3D, and you use puppetry. So, what made you decide to use all three different styles?
So I've done 3D films, I've done puppetry films, 2D films. So in Frank's joke, it was puppetry
Uh-huh.
and then the hand drawn animation
Yes.
on top. So that was something I wanted to, like I said, after I'd made the advert with puppets in it, I just finished a film where I'd done CG characters and I'd drawn the faces on. And I would thought, what if I draw the faces onto puppets this time? So taking the technique a step further. Um, and then I thought it was relevant for the story, most importantly, because it was all to do with two different spaces, the real space and the mental space. I thought we could use the animation to represent that mental space.
There were a lot of people that worked on this film with you. Is there anybody you'd like to name specific?
So because it was live action puppets, there's a live action crew.
Mm-hmm.
So there was the cinematographer, Bertrand Rocourt, and the puppeteer, Eva Wujkov. Were really great to work with, and the producer, Shireen Ali. And then, I mean, there's so many people worked on it in varying roles. I think someone that I worked very closely with was the composer, Pablo Scopinaro, because the film was really tied to the music, basically the kind of tempo of the film.
Did you have a score in mind, or did he like write a score and then he just showed you?
I showed him the idea for the film. I wanted us to work together from the beginning
Right.
rather than just present him the film and then he scores on top. And I knew I wanted it like a sort of crazy sort of jazz kind of sound. and he agreed. He thought that was really suited to the script. So we started working. I mean, he started working. I know I was giving feedback from the beginning, basically.
I know like a lot of animation, like whether it's Warner Brothers cartoons or it's any of the theatrical animation from the golden age of animation, they did this. They scored music first, and then they built it off either bar sheets back then, or they would build it off the music from the beginning. Did you have the score first before you made the film?
No. So we kind of had a vague idea of what it would sound like. So we had some temp music put onto the animatic when we did the animatic. So then that kind of informed the edit. But then when I was animating, I didn't have any. I wasn't animating to music. He did the music afterwards.
For my last question for you would be: is there any projects you're working on right now?
Yeah, there's a few. Yeah, I'm working with a friend, a fellow animation director, for a charity film. It's all about the kind of legal system in the UK, about young people having to navigate through it. I'm like pitching and developing ideas for TV shows. I think that a TV show based on Frank Show could be quite fun, with the same sort of character and same kind of world and technique. So yeah, basically just trying to get a few things off the ground.
Okay. Well, thank you for agreeing to do this.
It's okay. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Chat soon.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.